Hello, welcome to Skill Check, the positive gaming podcast from YMCA Exeter. My name is Andy.
And my name is Becky.
And yes, I had a crisis of confidence halfway through that intro.
You weren't sure what we were doing then, were you? Which podcast we were doing? I don't know anymore.
Wouldn't be for the first time.
Yeah. So
I'm very aware my voice is just stuck.
Yeah, I know. When I'm still croaking, this is like a month now we're going on, but I'm going to the doctor today, so we're hoping better by the next time. But we're also now onto our summer break as well, so it's literally like that cliffhanger that we thought we weren't going to have because I thought it was getting better, and now it is actually a cliffhanger to see whether I get my voice back or not.
Are we going to come back after our summer break? And will Becky have a voice?
Yeah, will
she not have a voice?
Come back and find out. That's what it's going to be, isn't it?
I feel like we should be saying this at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But please stay with us in the meantime. See if Becky's voice holds on throughout.
Yeah.
And to help her with this, I'm going to talk lots.
Yeah, which Andy's been doing for like a month now, like talking lots. Andy, what have we got coming up?
Well, we are going to talk about the relationship between video games and stress.
Okay.
We are going to talk about World of Goo. That was it.
World of Goo. Interesting. That's a very interesting name for a game.
It's awesome.
Okay.
But before that, we have gaming news. And now, gaming news.
Gaming news. I'm going to croak my way through it. Yeah, again. Here we go.
I have notes on standby.
It's okay. Andy's got the stories. Our first piece of gaming news this week is the global gaming market. Revenue in the global gaming market is projected to hit $212.4 billion by 2026, with mobile platforms continuing to lead the growth, a new study has shown. This figure would represent a 13% increase from 2023. The surge will be dominated by mobile gaming, which will account for almost half of all gaming revenue this year. Consoles will be the second largest, with almost 30% of the revenue this year. Asia Pacific has the lead in revenue generation with 46% of the market share, although the Middle East and Asia has the lowest market share. It is likely to have the biggest jump in sales revenue, with experts predicting it will rise to 7% market share by 2026.
Well,
it's growing in places you wouldn't expect it to be growing. That's what I learned from this study. It was really interesting. They had a little pie chart in it. It was very interesting. If you're very interested in it, it was basically like, which we knew mobile gaming was, which is part of the Activision Blizzard takeover thing that we were saying that a big part of it is mobile gaming.
Yeah, and I think this just reminds everyone that actually gaming doesn't have to look like having video game headset on in front of a console, in front of a big screen.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to look like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to look like that.
No.
It can also look like being on your phone and doing something that isn't doom scrolling through Facebook.
It's interesting because when you start to talk to people that say, "Oh, I don't game," you go, "Well, do you play Sudoku on your phone? Or do you play like stuff on your phone?" And they suddenly go, "Yeah, I do that." And you're like, "Well, you game. Like that's still gaming." So it'll be interesting.
It's still part of that entire industry.
Yeah. And it's big growth at the moment. So, and we knew that's what it was about, but it's just interesting to have that. It was a very interesting study. I think also the areas where the most growth is really interesting as well. So obviously the most growth currently is happening in Asia, which is really interesting because obviously like you would expect America to be like the big buyer of games, but actually it's mostly the Asian market, which is really interesting. So yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. The look was one of, have I got something to say here, or is that just going to run the risk of my geographical knowledge falling down to the extent I'm fairly certain I've just made up a word?
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Our next piece of gaming news is Netflix. Netflix has released a new gaming controller app on the App Store for iOS and iPad iOS devices. The app will allow users to play supported gaming titles from Netflix on their TV by pairing their phone or tablet. The app is not yet functional as Netflix are still putting the final touches to it. The controller layouts features a directional stick on the left side and A, B, X, Y buttons on the right, as well as Netflix and menu buttons in the middle. There is no news on when the app will be available on Android. Netflix games now supports over 50 games with no ads or in-app purchases. The service is included in every Netflix membership and is supported on Android as well as iPhones and iPads.
Now, I love this story.
Yeah.
Because this throws me back to, I don't know, I mean, it wasn't episode 1, but it feels like it could have been episode 1, way back in the height of lockdowns and so on and so forth. I think we covered on the podcast that Netflix was looking into going into cloud gaming or just like offering gaming, and I think my response was a little bit, what?
Yep.
I am happy to be wrong, you know, and the fact that they're putting together this app.
Yeah.
I mean, I have questions over how well it's going to be used, or no, not how well, but how it's going to be used.
Yeah.
In that, I know Amazon Luna have a similar app where you can put a controller on your phone and play Amazon Luna games, but that's done via the Fire Stick that you've got plugged in. So I wonder what the hardware and
I do.
But actually, thinking about it, it could be done through logging into your Netflix
I think
account on the app.
Yeah. And then on your phone as well. Yeah. I think that's how it's connected. But there's a little picture of it on the website if you find it. It looked quite like simple, but also the idea of having a controller on your phone I think is going to be a more prominent thing because obviously controllers are expensive, and so the idea of having like a controller which you can then use to put, if you've got like a TV screen where you've got Netflix on, you can then use your phone to play the game.
I wonder if this is Netflix getting ready to offer games on TV type screens.
I think probably that's the end game for it. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, and it might mean that you can start to play cloud streaming. It almost become like cloud stream, because at the moment when you're playing games on Netflix, you have to download the app separately.
It's all
and then you log into your
games at the moment. It seems. Please don't at me if I'm wrong.
But you have to download the app separately. And then log in through your Netflix password onto the apps. So that it knows that you're on Netflix and then you can use it like you're on. But it seems like they're moving towards like a cloud-based system where you just have you might have the games on the cloud and then you can just click them on Netflix and you can play them on whatever screen that you are on.
And at the risk of going down a dark path, there was a cloud gaming company that took a controller. You kind of set up the controller to connect via Wi-Fi.
Oh, Andy's still sad.
Yeah, Google Stadia.
Oh.
Still make me sad.
It's still sad.
Anyway.
Our final piece of gaming news is Xbox. Microsoft have altered how long their £1 trial for Games Pass lasts. It only lasts 14 days instead of 30. Games Pass has not been as popular as Microsoft would have hoped for, with reports that it is missing internal targets and take up of it, and PlayStation Plus have begun to fall. A month ago, Microsoft stopped its £1 trial for Game Pass, but after complaints from fans, they brought it back in July. They've now taken it again, more than halving the length of the trial from 30 to 14 days. The news of the reduction comes just a month after Xbox increased its pricing. Both of these suggest that the Game Pass has not been as successful as Microsoft would have hoped for.
Well, it's like the way of the world at the moment. You've got, I was reading the other day that Disney Plus are A, increasing their pricing, and B, it's not been as successful as they'd
starting to crack down on password sharing. Surprise, surprise.
It's almost as if you have companies almost going out their way to go, how can we make that a little bit more money? So no surprise at all. I don't know why subscription services are having such a trouble at the moment, but then maybe it's because the market is so saturated. There's so many different subscription services. I think so. You've got PlayStation Plus, you've got Game Pass, you've got Amazon. And that's just gaming. I'd be interested to know. You've got Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know what people think, whether it's because they would rather own the physical game or whether it's because they just don't, there's too much choice and they don't know which Game Pass to pick, or whether it's because of cost of living. I'd be interested to know, like, it might be worth asking if you've got any opinions on, like, why you think that subscriptions aren't doing as well as we would have hoped, like people would have hoped for.
Well, if I remember to actually write it down, I will try and find some opinions on that.
And that's the end of gaming news.
All right.
Okay.
So it's summer.
Yes, it is.
I reckon, it's one of those seasons where there's lots of stuff happening, you've got lots of peopling, you're trying to walk through town, and you've got lots of people in your way, you've got people wanting to do stuff.
I feel like you're feeling stressed, Andy.
It's funny you should say that.
Yeah.
I do happen to have a few things on this one.
Okay.
But also,
yeah,
I think it's a good chance to talk about stress and gaming.
Yeah.
And probably from more of a viewpoint of why do we say that gaming is good for stress?
Yeah.
Rather than just games are good for stress.
Yeah.
Because that will always differ from person to person.
Yeah.
So, why does video games help stress? Let's talk about it.
Okay.
I'm going to say 3 reasons. I may have made up that number.
Yeah.
Reason number 1.
Right.
Enjoyment.
Yes.
People enjoy it.
Really?
Let people enjoy things.
People enjoy gaming? What? Outrageous.
Play games.
That wouldn't be the whole basis of the podcast.
Exactly. I thought, let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
2, dopamine circuitry.
Oh, that's a fancy word.
All right. I might have a few notes for this one.
Okay.
So please forgive if you're watching on YouTube if I have my head down on my laptop every now and then. So, dopamine is that thing in your head that kind of says, I'm enjoying this. This is good. I like this.
Yeah.
When you play a video game and you enjoy it, the dopamine's released. And what you're doing kind of gives you pleasure, and it gives you that happy feeling. Obviously important to bear in mind that some video games kind of know how to capitalize on this.
Yeah.
A little bit like Netflix.
Yeah.
A little bit like how Netflix gives you the exciting bit at the start of the episode, 15 minutes of not much happening, and then a massive cliffhanger right at the end.
Yeah.
It's there to get your hooked. So, video game producers also know about this as well. And you can see that kind of in more open world games.
It's like they have studied it, Andy.
I know, right? Yeah. Number 3, the Triumph circuit.
Okay.
Now, this is new to me looking into this.
Okay. Again, fancy words.
Again, I mean, I love the name, Triumph Circuit. Now, apparently, I'm going to read this bit. Apparently, there's a pattern in our brain called the Triumph Circuit.
Right.
Which rewards engagement. So our brain is wired to make us feel good when we overcome challenges. So, which kind of makes sense when you stop and think about it. And it's very, very true. In that when you do something that you struggled with, it's worked out well, you're there going, It's like, even if it's something not particularly enjoyable, you might be there going, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And you feel that sense of relief. I reckon that's a form of the Triumph circuit in play.
Yeah.
And so video games just kind of capitalize on that and go, well done, you've defeated Darth Vader.
Congratulations!
Now here's the next challenge, and you've defeated the big boss.
So you must be able to do it again.
So you must be able to do it again.
Yeah.
And you feel good because you've overcome that challenge.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
Flow state, which I've never heard of in context of video games, but again, it's another one that does make sense. Normally, when I hear about flow state, it's in context of kind of doing something more creative,
Yeah.
very much creative work, work you kind of get yourself lost in a little bit. Could be, I mean, heck, painting the shed again. It's not something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But I'm very aware that when I'm doing it, I'm not really thinking of anything else.
Yeah.
I'm kind of maybe lost away with the fairies. I'm lost my own space because I'm painting and doing stuff. I'm lost in that moment.
Just using it to think, having some thinking time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and
that's what I do on my walks now.
There you go. Yeah, and you kind of lost in your kind of thoughts a little bit. You might just be focused on actually where you are walking, and it's kind of giving your brain that space away from everything else.
It's interesting because there's something about like rhythms that help you process stuff in your brain. So there's definitely a thing about walking and how that can help you because of the rhythm of your feet putting one foot in front of the other. It can help the rhythm of your brain. But then I think I've heard, I mean, this might be but I feel like I've heard somebody say that actually the same sort of thing when you're pushing buttons, if you know what you're doing and you sort of forget, like if you sort of get into that trance state of like thinking, but also it's the rhythm of like pushing different buttons and stuff that can actually like give you that space to like logically think out your thoughts and stuff as well. So
it's that processing time. And interestingly, I'm going wildly off script. A while back, I was listening to another podcast that was talking about anxiety and the apparent increase in anxiety in young people.
Yeah, and
there's a question there about the use of social media, and the answer wasn't yes, social media is bad. It was more a case of, well, actually, there might be something to that, because if you think about, let's say 20 years ago, let's give a nice big number. If you're there waiting for a train, or if you're waiting for a bus, you don't really have the same options as you do now, apart from maybe stand there and wait. And during those times, you were kind of forcing your brain to have a bit of headspace, that little bit of time to kind of mull over your day, contemplate your day, process your day. Yeah. And we don't have that anymore. And so I wonder if gaming kind of
can bring you back to that space.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. I'm not going to talk about. I've mentioned it now. Slightly controversial. Last one. Instant gratification.
Okay.
I say controversial because whenever people hear people talk about instant gratification, it's always in context of it being bad. Yeah. But I could argue that actually, how many other places in life do you have actual instant gratification? Yeah. If you're working, you often don't get rewarded for that work at the end of the day, or you've got to wait for payday, or if you're in school, you often don't get a sense of reward for being in school. Yeah. You do it because you have to. Yeah. So, you know what? Let's let people feel rewarded for what they're doing. Yeah. Great. Actual games, good for stress. I would recommend Sims. Yeah, we've talked about that because before. Sims. Stardew Valley because Stardew Valley. Monument Valley because it's peaceful. Don't know why I sung that. Beautiful singing. Old Man's Journey.
Interesting name.
Yeah, lots to talk about that. Okay. It's very contemplative. Nice. It's very peaceful. Nice. Flower, where you are literally playing as a flower, flying through the countryside.
Oh, how pretty.
And Tetris Effect.
Okay.
Which is a little bit like Tetris. It is Tetris, but it has this kind of slight meditative vibe to it. Fun. Until it goes wrong and you lose.
I would also say Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. I mean, I was going to go for Animal Crossing.
But we talked about it.
I think we talked about that last week.
Fair enough.
And, Animal Crossing, if it can get you through a pandemic, it can get you through almost anything. Yeah. But yeah, that is why games are good for stress. Okay.
And now it's time for Andy's Game of the Week. Andy, what is your game this week?
The incredibly named World of Goo.
Yeah, that is an incredible name.
So, it's called World of Goo.
Right.
Because you're controlling these little drops of goo.
Okay.
And you have to use them to create structures, either towers or bridges.
Interesting.
Or other sort of square things.
Doesn't sound very structurally sound.
Well...
Okay.
It depends on how good you are.
Okay.
And to kind of guide the goo to the goal.
Right. Interesting.
I can't believe I just said those words.
Yeah, I know. That's a sentence you never thought you'd say, right?
Pretty much. And what is really bizarre about this is it's really fun and accessible.
Okay.
It feels a bit like Lemmings.
Yeah. It does sort of, the look of it does remind me a little bit of like Worms. Do you remember playing Worms?
Yeah. Except, without the...
Like trying to kill the worms. Yeah.
You don't want to kill your goo in this one.
Yeah.
My wife has downloaded it onto her phone. In fact, she downloaded it when it was first released. This is a remastered version.
Okay.
And she's downloaded it onto her phone over the last week.
Right.
After I went, oh, you can get World of Goo for the iPhone again. Oh, cool.
It's like Doodle Jump.
So, exactly.
Remember those things?
There must be a remastered version of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much from that sort of era of mobile gaming.
Okay.
So, I've been playing it. She's been playing it.
Nice.
My daughter's been playing it.
Yep.
Really simple game. First came out in 2008.
Right.
And it's been available on various platforms since then.
Yeah.
I say various. Don't think you can get it on Xbox or PlayStation.
I think it's just mobile.
Well, it's on Switch.
It's on the Switch.
And it's also on PC as well.
Okay. Cool.
You recently had a remastered version.
Yep.
That is available for free if you have a Netflix account.
Oh, there you go. That's what we're talking about.
Bringing the podcast full circle.
It's a complete full circle. Great.
There you go.
Well, that is all we've got time for this week. That's great. As we said before, we actually are on a 2-week summer break from this week. So we'll be back in 3 weeks' time.
Yes.
With, I'm sure, what will be an updated podcast. And we are and hopefully my voice will be better as well. So watch this space. We will. Please do follow us on all social medias at YMCA Exeter and at YMCA Exeter Games. If you are liking the video podcast, do follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, write a comment if you've got any comments about what we said today. We will see you in a few weeks' time.
Have a good summer.